Ever catch yourself like daydreaming, about what you would do if money were no object? I know I do. Well, today we're going to be doing a deep dive into a fascinating Reddit post that goes into this whole question.
Yeah. It's a scenario that really gets you thinking. What happens when you reach, a point where you have enough money, where you've kind of like fulfilled all your material desires, right? Where do you go from there?
Yeah, and that's the exact predicament that this Reddit user, Michigan Carnot, is facing. He went to the Our Money subreddit to get some advice. They're in their 50s, and they're comfortably retired with a spouse. They have a really great life that many people would envy, like a lakefront home, nice cars, they travel regularly,
Mm-hmm.
and they even donate to charity. But there's something missing.
And it's that missing piece that makes this deep dive so compelling. At Michigan Carnet, they describe it as like an itch, to make a big purchase. It's almost like they need to like validate their years of hard work and being frugal by, spending a huge amount of money on something, anything, really.
It's like they've climbed this mountain of financial success, but now they're standing at the peak, being like, wait, is this all there is?
Exactly. And the advice that they got from, other people on Reddit is just as fascinating as the dilemma itself, really. Some people jump right into suggesting these extravagant purchases like luxury vacations, classic cars, even getting into like equestrian sports.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah.
That definitely like fits that whole go big or go home mentality, huh? But some of the suggestions took a different approach, right?
Totally. There's a whole group of commenters that are all about making life even more comfortable, like by outsourcing all those daily tasks. So like personal chefs, assistants, that kind of thing.
Oh, so basically taking that treat yourself thing to a whole other level. It seems like a lot of people focused on how to enhance Michigan Carnet's existing lifestyle, which makes sense based on what they said about their situation. But then there's also like a more sentimental side to the advice that they got too.
Right. We see a bunch of comments suggesting generational wealth, right? Like setting up trusts for their kids and grandkids, and even just helping out their adult children now. So this is really tapping into, that desire to build a legacy and make sure that their loved ones are taken care of.
It's like saying, hey, my success isn't just for me. It's also about making sure my family is set up for the future, right? But among all of these really like practical and heartwarming suggestions, there's also a recurring theme that really focuses on experiences over just buying more stuff.
Yeah, and this is where it gets really interesting, like from a psychological point of view. You see, a new car or a bigger house might make you happy for a little while, but research actually shows that experiences tend to bring more lasting satisfaction.
Why is that? It kind of seems counterintuitive that something that's temporary could be more fulfilling than owning something, that you could hold on to.
Well, it all comes down to something that's called hedonic adaptation. Basically, we humans, we can adjust to our circumstances really well, whether they're good or bad. So that shiny new car, after a while, it just becomes, the car. The thrill wears off.
Right, right. Okay, so the newness wears off, but I still own the car, right? How is that less fulfilling than, let's say, a vacation that's long over?
Because experiences, they always offer something new. Even after a trip is over, you still have all the memories, the stories, even how you grew as a person by stepping outside of your comfort zone. You can think back on those experiences, share them with people, and they continue to add something to your life long after the actual event has passed.
So it's not just about the experience itself, but it's also about the lasting effect that it has on like who we are as people and even how we see the world.
Exactly. And there's another thing about this focus on experiences. They usually involve connecting with other people, whether it's traveling with family, sharing hobbies, or just making memories together. And social connection is a fundamental human need. It's crucial for our happiness and well-being.
That makes a lot of sense. And I'm sure anyone listening can relate to how happy and fulfilled they feel when they share meaningful experiences with people that they care about. But before we get too deep into like the psychology behind all of these suggestions, I want to go back to some of the actual comments in the Reddit thread. Some of them were really memorable and even funny.
Oh, yeah, for sure. There were some real gems in there. Like, there was one person who jokingly offered to let Michigan Carnut adopt them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a good one. It's a lighthearted reminder that, Even when we're discussing like serious topics like money and personal fulfillment, humor always has a place, right? But then there were other comments that were like, whoa, they really made you think and reminded us that life can be unpredictable even when you're financially stable.
You're thinking about the commenter who shared that they had been saving up for retirement, but now they're having to use that money for cancer treatment.
Yeah, it's a powerful reminder that money can help you get the resources and options that you need, even if it can't fix every problem.
Absolutely. It really highlights the importance of money in a different way, right? It's not just about indulging yourself. It's also about having the means to handle those unexpected challenges that life throws your way.
Exactly. And then there was this other commenter who suggested that Michigan Carnet find someone specific who has denied financial help in the past and help them out directly.
Ah, yes. Targeted generosity. It's not just about donating to a good cause. It's about finding a specific need and actually making a difference in someone's life.
It's a really powerful reminder that even something that might seem small can have a huge ripple effect that goes way beyond what we can even imagine.
And it all ties back to that human connection that we were talking about.
Right. So we've gone through like all of this advice that Michigan Carnet got, from going all out on something luxurious to being incredibly generous. But what I find really fascinating is this whole itch to buy something big, even though they already seem to have everything they could possibly need or want.
Yeah, it's a really interesting psychological puzzle, and it speaks to those deeper questions that we all wrestle with, especially as we get older and hit certain milestones in our lives.
What do you think is driving this urge? Is it just about wanting to have the newest and best things?
I don't think it's that simple. I think there could be a subconscious desire for validation, like a feeling that they need to prove they're successful by doing something big with their money. After all, they've been really careful with their money and put off enjoying themselves for so long. Maybe now they feel like they need to show everyone that all of their hard work has paid off.
So it's like they need a concrete way to represent what they've achieved. But could there be something else going on too?
Absolutely. Maybe it's about dealing with boredom. They've achieved financial security and they've checked off all the typical life goals. Now they need something new to focus on, a new source of excitement. And maybe that comes in the form of, a big purchase.
Interesting. It's like they need to come up with a new goal now that they've reached the top of their old one. But could it go even deeper than that?
It might. Maybe this whole itch is really a sign of them questioning the bigger picture of their life. They've achieved financial comfort, but now they're thinking about those really big questions like, what's the purpose of all this money and what actually matters in life?
It's like they've reached a point where they're realizing that money, even though it's important, doesn't equal happiness or fulfillment. And now they're looking for something more, something that gives their life meaning beyond material possessions.
You got it. And this is where we start to see the potential downsides of indulging too much. If Michigan Carnet just chases after fleeting pleasures, they might end up feeling even more empty and unfulfilled.
Because those things that they buy won't answer those deeper questions about purpose and meaning.
Exactly. It's like trying to fill a hole in your heart by buying a bunch of stuff when what they're really searching for is a sense of purpose, connection, and real lasting fulfillment. And that's where this whole deep dive gets even more interesting. Remember all those suggestions about like experiences and personal growth? Those seem to be pointing in, a direction that could be a lot more fulfilling.
Yeah, definitely. Like investing in travel or going after those passions, you kind of put on the back burner, or even like learning something totally new. It's interesting how many people were suggesting stuff like that.
It's not just interesting, it's like actually backed up by science. Studies have shown that experiences, especially ones that involve personal growth and connecting with people, those tend to make you feel good long term, much more than just buying stuff.
So even though those experiences are temporary, they still have like a positive impact that stays with you even after they're over.
Totally. Think about it. A new car gets old after a while, but those memories of a tough hike in the Himalayas or finally learning a new language, those stay with you. They become like part of who you are, something you can look back on and be proud of and even share with other people.
And sharing those stories, that's a big part of it too, right? Those experiences often lead to connections with others, like you bond over these shared adventures or learning experiences that you've had.
Exactly. And that brings us back to that whole idea of human connection being like a basic need. Michigan Carnet's thing about needing to buy something big, maybe it's them like subconsciously looking for something deeper, a desire for connection and purpose that goes beyond just like having a lot of money.
So maybe instead of thinking about what to buy, they should be asking themselves, what experiences would make me happy challenge me, and connect me with other people.
Now you're getting it. It's all about shifting that focus away from just buying stuff and towards like personal growth and really engaging with the world in a meaningful way.
That makes me think about the commenter who suggested helping out someone who had been denied, financial assistance. It might not be as exciting as buying something fancy, but it could be incredibly satisfying on a personal level.
Oh, absolutely. That kind of targeted generosity says a lot about how you can use your wealth in a way that really lines up with your values and, makes a positive impact on the world around you.
Yeah, it's about realizing that true wealth isn't just about the money you have. It's also about having the means to make a difference in other people's lives.
And sometimes you can make that difference in a quiet, unassuming way. It doesn't always have to be this huge, flashy thing.
This whole conversation has really made me rethink my own relationship with money. It's easy to get caught up in wanting more and more, but maybe real satisfaction comes from experiences, connections, and actually making a positive difference.
That's a powerful realization, and it's something we all struggle with at some point, right? Money's just a tool. Like any tool, it can be used for good or bad. The important thing is to use it consciously and intentionally in a way that, like, aligns with your values.
And that brings me back to Michigan Carnet's original question. If they're feeling this itch to spend, maybe it's not about finding the perfect thing to buy, but finding the right way to use their resources.
That's a really smart way to look at it. It's not about just spending to spend, but about making those choices about money line up with, a deeper sense of purpose and fulfillment.
Okay, I gotta admit, some of the suggestions in that thread were pretty out there. Like, there was one person who offered to let Michigan Carnet buy them, like a ton of guns and ammo.
Yeah, that one was definitely memorable. It just shows you how differently people think about what makes them happy, right? And it also highlights how important it is to be responsible with your spending. What might seem fulfilling to one person could end up being harmful to themselves or others.
It's a good reminder that every time we spend money, we're making a choice that has an impact, whether we realize it or not. But hey, let's not forget the funny side of all this. Remember that person who jokingly offered themselves up for adoption?
Oh yeah, that was classic. It's a perfect example of how humor can like lighten things up and help us look at these complicated topics in a new way. Sometimes you just need a good laugh when you're, pondering all this deep stuff about money and happiness.
It definitely helps keep things from getting too serious. I mean, exploring these ideas shouldn't be a chore, right? It's about opening our minds to different perspectives and like having these interesting conversations.
Exactly. And that's what makes this deep dive so great. We're exploring the psychology of wealth, all the different aspects of happiness and how powerful human connection is, all through like just one Reddit post. It's a pretty amazing journey.
As we're talking about all these different perspectives and how important connection is, it reminds me of something that's really important to our journey here at Voices of the Soul.
I think I know where you're going with this.
We totally thrive on the connection we have with you, like our amazing listeners. Your engagement, all your thoughtful comments, and how you're willing to, really dive deep with us into these topics. That's what makes this whole thing so rewarding.
Couldn't agree more. It's like we're all on this journey of discovery together. We're learning from each other and, expanding our understanding of the world and ourselves.
And for those of you who are really into this deep dive, we'd love to, stay connected with you even after this episode is over. You can subscribe to our podcast, Voices of the Soul, wherever you listen.
And if you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to subscribe to Shauna Polidge's channel and give this video a thumbs up. It really helps us connect with more curious minds like yours.
It's all about building a community of people who are into the same things we are, people who are passionate about exploring these big questions about life and finding meaning in the everyday stuff.
So let's keep this conversation going. Share your thoughts in the comments, find us on social media, and let us know what really stuck with you from this deep dive.
Because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. Having those meaningful conversations and inspiring each other to live these really fulfilling lives.
Well said. Now, where were we? Oh, yeah, we were digging deeper into what's behind Michigan Carnet's itch to buy something big.
So we've talked about all the different advice that Michigan Carnet got, everything from just splurging on luxury to really focusing on experiences and personal growth. But I'm curious, what do you think is the best advice they got?
Ooh, good question. For me, it's that emphasis on making sure their spending lines up with their personal values, whether it's, putting money towards their family, following a passion, or even making a real difference in the world. The key seems to be finding something that really clicks with who Michigan Carnet is and what's truly important to them.
Yeah, it's saying don't just spend money to spend it. Invest it in a way that, makes you feel good and brings some meaning to your life. But that brings up another question, right? How do you figure out what those values even are? Especially when you're in a place where you're, financially secure and have all this freedom to choose.
That's where it gets really interesting. It takes some real soul searching, which can be tough, but it's so worth it in the end. It might mean going back to things you used to love, trying out new things, or even just taking some time to connect with yourself and figure out what really matters to you.
So it's almost like a journey of rediscovering yourself, but this time you've got the resources and the freedom to actually go after those dreams.
Exactly. It's about seeing wealth not as the finish line, but as a tool that you can use to create a life that really reflects, your deepest values and hopes.
I really like that way of looking at it. It's not just about having the money, it's about using it to build a life that's actually rich with meaning and purpose. And that leads me to the final thought I want to leave our listeners with today.
I'm all ears. What's it got for us?
Well, we've been deep diving into Michigan Carnet's situation, figuring out what's going on in their head with this whole itch to spend money and looking at all the different advice they got. But now I want to flip it around and ask you, the listener, a question.
Oh, I like this. Get those listeners thinking.
Imagine you're Michigan Carnet. You've worked your butt off, you're financially set, and you've got the freedom to choose how to spend your time and money. What would really make you happy? What would make all that hard work feel worth it?
That's such a good question. And there's no right or wrong answer. It's this personal journey that takes some real honesty with yourself and a willingness to step outside of that comfort zone, right?
Yeah, for sure. Maybe it's about, leaving a legacy for your family. Maybe it's traveling the world and experiencing all these different cultures. Or maybe it's about throwing yourself into something you really care about.
The possibilities are endless, and that's what makes it so exciting. It's like a call to dream big, to figure out what you really want deep down, and to picture a life where money isn't the main thing anymore, but just a way to help you live a more meaningful life.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we want you to really think about that question. What would you do if you didn't have to worry about money? What would make you truly happy? And how can you start, even with small steps, to make those dreams come true?
Because in the end, that's what it's all about. It's about realizing that real wealth isn't just about how much money you have. It's about the experiences you have, the people you connect with, and the impact you make on the world around you.
So well said. And remember, this conversation doesn't end here. Tell us what you think about all this. Leave a comment, find us on social media. Let's keep exploring this together.
Because as always, we're all in this together, learning, growing, and discovering all the different ways to live a really fulfilling life. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. 18A610.